Yo, you listening? Are you tired of the same clout-chasing gatekeepers, the same sports media, podcast, and radio with recycled takes and no context?
That's where Touchdowns Tangents comes in. See, we're different. We give you culturally concise commentary, context for the culture, in-depth NFL analysis. So get ready and prepare yourself for the tangents.
Listen in.
What's up, people? Live from the Good News Studio out in Hawthorne, California. It's your favorite place for topical takes, context, and tangents for the culture. As always, to my right, in his big, bright red Kool-Aid Good News sweater, Kenneth Frank James Berry, a.k.a. KB. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
You like that ride of emotions on your intro, huh?
I'm going to let that slander go because I have a joke prepared just for you throughout the show, the entire show.
And, of course, to the left is the great producer, the audio man.
I thought you were going to quote a Beyonce line because you kept saying to the left.
The adopted Dodger fan. Eric, how you doing?
I'm good, man.
At least he's not a Padres fan.
No, that's blasphemy.
And
Pete's a Padres fan.
Blasphemy.
Slam Diego. And to the far left, the lovely Izzy. How you doing?
What's good?
No,
good.
no intro needed. I'm good.
Good.
Hanging in there.
Don't ask her a question and trample over her answer. Come on now.
Sorry.
You can't say to the far left, then that assumes she's a part of some like weird political group.
Antifa.
Ski mask season.
Just non-fascist.
I feel like we all deserve to congrats to everybody for making it this week. It's a crazy fucking week. Like, you never know what's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure we all have a story about something that happened to us this week that was ridiculous. So, kudos to us for making it here another week. Shout out to Good News Radio. Shout out to X Squad affiliates. Full press coverage.
The Jamaican horns.
Yeah, Jamaican DJ. I know.
But yeah, man, we got a loaded show this week. There's a lot of content to go on top of the fact that we got a couple of friends calling in. We'll call them friend, not guest, because not only have they been here before, but truly our friends. So shout out to them. Other than that, I mean, I think there's a great argument going on right now. So if you're not listening to that, probably rather watch that than the Giants and Eagles game.
Oh, you mean us talking about how like the Vikings are totally going to tank?
No, I was talking about the
shitty debate.
Yeah, the presidential debate.
I'm just waiting for the fist fight to happen.
I'm with it.
I just want to hear just bleeps and just repetitive FUs.
I mean, what was that movie? Robert De Niro. What was it called? The Grudge. With Stallone as old people fighting.
Oh wow! Wow! I thought you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna go Heat. Well, you know. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Kevin with 105.3 The Fan, calling from Dallas, Texas.
Oh boy! All right, okay, Kev.
Kevin out here big timing us now. You no longer Kevin from Clutch Time.
I see it moving up in the world, man.
Look, man, my bad. I'm a couple minutes late. I was editing some video and stuff and getting ready to put my daughter down for bed and whatnot. I was like, oh, man, that's my bad for calling it a couple minutes late.
You're all good, family. We had technical difficulties anyway. So you are right on time. Yeah. The universe works in weird ways.
Exactly. The Wi-Fi was on something else.
Okay. Well, glad to be with you guys, man. Touchdowns and tangents once again. How y'all doing?
Good, man.
Good. And
much better than your Cowboys.
That's just...
Oh, tell me about it.
I mean, like, do you eat Whataburger and cry over it, wishing it was In-N-Out while watching the Cowboys? How does that go?
Never in life would I eat either one of those. So you don't have to worry about either one of those. It's funny you say Whataburger because... of course, Patrick Mahomes, the star quarterback for the Chiefs, it lives in Texas and somehow was able to get Kansas City to franchise Whataburger in Kansas City. So
Damn.
Whataburger apparently is expanding from Texas to Missouri now because of Patrick Mahomes and his affinity for Whataburger ketchup. So, there's that.
That's some great context there. Thank you
ketchup
for that.
on macaroni and cheese. You better be glad he's the greatest quarterback walking the earth. 'Cause that's something acceptable.
Wait, no. We put ketchup on hot dogs and hamburgers, not steak or mac and cheese. I don't subscribe to that theory. So
Yeah, because I guess he gets a pass for that, but like talking like a Muppet who sounds like a Muppet, yeah, he has like a Inception Muppet voice. It just makes me laugh every time I hear him talk.
It's a very rich Kermit the Frog there.
Like it's like a well refined wine. Like it sounds like he's talking from the inside of like a grain silo with like really good sound.
If I could have changed a Muppet voice for being 25 with a Super Bowl championship, league MVP, Super Bowl MVP, $500 million in part ownership of the Royals, I might take that trade.
Yeah, I'll take it too.
I'd become a Chiefs fan in a second. What about the Raiders? Psh, I'd sell out so fast. But I mean, speaking of being paid and selling out and great quarterbacks, is there any hope for the Cowboys with Dak out?
My short answer is no. My shorter answer is no.
Damn.
It's tough, man, because you lose your starting right and left tackle with Leo Collins and Tyron Smith. Then you lose Leighton Vander Esch for a period of time. You lose your starting tight end in training camp, Blake Jarwin, with a torn ACL. And this offensive line has been shuffled all over the place. And then on top of that, you lose your emotional and vocal and franchise leader in Dak Prescott. And he was the only reason why the Cowboys had won, really the one game against Atlanta. And then, of course, got them to the point where they were handling somewhat of their business against the Falcons, and Andy Dalton came in relief and was able to help pull the victory out. But Dak Prescott was really the only reason why this team isn't 0-6, because technically that's what they should be. And when you look at who they still have to play, games against the Steelers, games against the Baltimore Ravens. They still have some really tough opponents left. And as bad as the NFC East is, I don't know if the Cowboys, as bad as they are, can win this NFC East, which is historically bad. So as much as I hate to say it, I don't know if there's much hope for this team, given all of the problems that they have right now.
Speaking of that, we live in LA, and obviously there's Cowboy fans all over, and there's a good portion of them here in LA. But, going to social media, I'm hearing all this slander about Zeke. And I'm just wondering, it only took 2 fumbles for Cowboy fans to be over Zeke. Now, you're in Texas. You got foot on the ground. Is that the sentiment there, too? Like, are Cowboys fans over one of the greatest running backs of this generation?
Well, there's 2 schools of thought that run here in Texas when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott, and it goes all the way back to when he was drafted in 2016, was that a lot of folks down here wanted the Cowboys to draft the cornerback that you have, the $100 million man out there in Los Angeles, Jalen Ramsey at the time. And the Cowboys decided, no, we're going to take Ezekiel Elliott, rebuild what we believe is the formula to win football games. That's behind the dominant offensive line, which they had at the time and continued to have for subsequent years after that, and a powerful running game, a la the 90s Cowboys with Emmitt Smith and the offensive line they had. They wanted to recreate that with Ezekiel Elliott. I was fine with the pick at the time because I thought that they did not have a star, running back.
And he's a winner.
Yeah, won a national title at Ohio State. Like he was, to me, the best fit for the Cowboys at the time. But I think what a lot of folks have felt like, they feel like he's overpaid at $90 million. You don't typically see running backs making that kind of money. Ezekiel Elliott got the $90 million deal. And then when you think about how folks feel about him, one, not thinking he should have been drafted, two, you overpay him when you didn't necessarily have to because he was still in the middle of his contract when the Cowboys decided to, handle that $90 million while he was holding out. And then you fast forward to this year, a guy who has never had a fumbling problem all of a sudden puts the ball on the ground a career high 4 times in just the first 6 games of this season. So there's a lot that goes into why folks don't necessarily get down with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not one of them. I think he has been one of the best backs since he has entered into the league. To me, he's the best blocking back in all of the NFL. But at times, he has been maligned here, and unfortunately, it has been magnified this year with his fumbling problem. He says that he is going to work on it and fix it, look at film, but at the same time, it's something that he's got to get corrected because last week the Cowboys needed him to be the best player on offense to try to help Andy Dalton, and he simply didn't do that. Fumbled 2 times in a row, which led to 14, straight Arizona Cardinal points, and it was pretty much a wrap after that.
Now, this may be a stretch, but this may be a reach, but I stretched it a little bit today, so I think I'll be okay. But
okay,
I think I harken back, and I told Pete this a couple years ago.
So I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
I know, man. I'm saying, got to stay flexible. But in this case, when I think back a couple seasons when, they were talking about contracts and they were talking about Christian McCaffrey was up next and all these other running backs after Zeke was going to break the bank. And I feel like Zeke had the misfortune of being that running back in between 2 different eras where, the last cycle of great backs were kind of being pushed out of the league. Adrian Peterson's an outlier, just a total free radical. Mm-hmm. But then you see Zeke he would fit in the previous eras with an LT and other backs. And then you see him in this era where he's totally dominating in offense. But then I remember, I think it was some news outlet, they put up a picture of him and Nick Chubb. And I'm like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Why are you using Zeke? Why are you using Zeke as the rub to get Chubb over? When there are plenty of running backs who are in the same draft class as Chubb, who you can compare Chubb to Sonny Michel. Why would you use Zeke? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's almost like Zeke is slowly making his way to getting Tiki Barber level heat from either the media or his team?
Oh, man. Well, Tiki Barber got some heat for some other stuff, but, we won't get into any of that. But as far as...
that or Golden Tate, we won't talk about that.
You're right.
Shout out to Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, exactly. Ramsey handled his business the way he needed to. But for Zeke, look, man, he is in that in-between of eras. As you mentioned, I think that's a great example because Zeke is a classic power back. I believe he's a really good pass catcher. He just hasn't been used in those ways, a la a Christian McCaffrey or even a Dalvin Cook to a certain extent. And guys like McCaffrey, Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara,
Gurley,
Saints, those, yeah, exactly. Those guys are Swiss Army knives. And Zeke he has been built behind a really good offensive line, but at the same time has never been. I think he was in his first couple of years, the explosiveness, the down the 20, 30-yard runs. You saw a lot of that his first couple of years in the league, and some of that has subsided, with the amount of wear and tear. This is a guy that over the last 3-4 years has had well over 300 carries, in the National Football League, except for the year he got suspended, a couple of years ago by Roger Goodell for 6 games. But other than that, he's been the bell cow for this football team. So I think some of that is just the wear and tear, but some of that also is he is not the pass-catching, explosive speed back that you see a lot of these guys turning into, namely guys like I mentioned with McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Those guys are just, they're on another level.
And I feel like with this Cowboys team, I don't know generationally when they're gonna have another window like this.